How's it going, everybody? Lampini here again, and today we are going to be going over Week 13 of the 2025 NFL season. So Week 12, what pretty much went exactly as to plan for me. I only got a couple games wrong. I was 10-4 with my predictions. The games that I got wrong was the Texans managed to upset the Bills on Thursday night. The Bears upset the Steelers. That was a bit of a toss-up game. We'll talk about that a little bit later. The Chiefs beat the Colts. I have a lot to say about that one. And the Cowboys upset the Eagles. I'll have a lot to say about that one too. Everything else kind of went according to plan for the season. I am 116, 61, and 1. So I am officially gotten twice as many games right as I've gotten wrong. Make sure you watch the videos. Any money line bets that you have, I'm your guy. So without further ado, let's kick things off with Thursday Night Football. Actually, let me just rephrase that because Thursday is Thanksgiving. So we have 3 games going on Thursday. So it's not Thursday Night Football. The first game in the 1 p.m. slate on Thanksgiving is the Green Bay Packers at the Detroit Lions. This is a very important game. The Packers are 6-3-1. The Lions are 6-4. 7-4. Sorry, 7-3-1, 7-4. What's important about this game is whoever wins it stays in the playoffs. The other one gets kicked out. The Lions are currently on the outside looking in at 7-4 because that's how competitive the playoff picture is right now. And they need this win badly. They beat the Giants in overtime, and it was a very impressive showing. But they shouldn't have made it as close as they did. Jameis Winston with an amazing Philly special type move, where someone threw the ball to Jameis Winston. He broke a tackle and ran in. It was a very entertaining game to watch, and it's just a shame that Jameis Winston throws so many interceptions because he definitely has a place as a starter in this league with his athletic ability and his entertainment value. So a lot to say with that. Talking about entertainment value, Jahmyr Gibbs just blew this game wide open. He had a walk-off touchdown in overtime that basically sealed the game for him. He had 15 carries for 219 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. So he averaged 14 yards a carry. He had 2 super long rushing touchdowns that just showed his unbelievable breakaway speed. In addition to that, he had 11 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown. So we are talking 264 yards from scrimmage and 3 touchdowns for Jahmyr Gibbs. I think going into next season, he's going to be an Offensive Player of the Year candidate if he keeps this kind of stuff up. His speed is ludicrous. On top of that, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 9 receptions for 149 yards and a touchdown. And then Jared Goff, 28 of 42 for 279 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and a 91.3 passer rating. The Lions' offense wasn't the problem. It was the fact that their defense allowed the Giants to score 27 points, allowed them to get back in the game. The Giants led the game for the majority of it, which is pretty crazy. The Lions never were out of it. They were always down by like 1 score. But I know Jameis Winston is very inconsistent, and when he's on, he can play very well. But you should not be struggling this much against the Giants. And I think that is kind of my concern with the Lions, is that they clearly have a lot of explosiveness and they can score at will when they want to. But they falter in games they shouldn't falter in. Like this one, they should not have struggled like they did in this game. As for the Packers, they took care of business against the Vikings, 23-6. I'll have a lot to say about the Vikings and 9 when I go over the Vikings game, but I don't have any stats for the Packers game because everything just went kind of pedestrian. The Packers have been quietly a 7-3-1 team. They've looked very, very good. They haven't really blown anybody away. Jordan Love hasn't blown anyone away. Josh Jacobs is under 4 yards a carry, I think. But saying that, they're 7-3-1, and that just means that they're a well-coached team that is getting the job done. This is going to be a very interesting game for sure. Because like I said, this has serious playoff implications. It's on Thanksgiving. It's going to be a hell of a game, and I cannot wait to watch it. That being said, I am going to go with the Detroit Lions on this one. It's at home. The Lions know what's at stake. They have a coach in Dan Campbell that I think can elevate his roster when it needs to be elevated. And I think that they're going to come out with a lot more fire. They know they need to win this game. I don't see the Lions missing the playoffs with the amount of talent they have, so I'm going with the Lions. I think they're going to win. Next up, we have the Kansas City Chiefs at the Dallas Cowboys. What I learned from these 2 games are basically 2 things. With the Dallas Cowboys, they will always they're not a good team, but they will always make things competitive because they have Dak Prescott, Javonte Williams, George Pickens, and CeeDee Lamb. George Pickens probably is the best jump ball receiver in the league. The things that he does when Dak Prescott just lays it out there one-on-one with George Pickens, he's the best in the league with it. He is insane. And I knew it from the very beginning when I saw him with the Steelers. The guy's ridiculous, right? He's going to get paid. No matter where he is, he's going to get paid because the guy has just leaves me speechless. Incredible talent. He had 9 receptions for 146 yards and a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb, 4 receptions off of 75 yards on 11 targets. So George Pickens is actually outperforming CeeDee Lamb at this point, which I think is just insane. It is just absolutely insane. CeeDee Lamb had a great year last year, but like if George Pickens ended up becoming wide receiver 1 over CeeDee Lamb, like that's just a testament not to how much CeeDee Lamb has fallen, but just how damn good George Pickens is. You know, that's my takeaway. Dak Prescott was 23 of 36 for 354 yards, 2 touchdowns and interception, a 103.2 passer rating. It was a very interesting game against Philly because the Cowboys were down 21-0, and then they ended up winning the game 24-21. The Eagles' offense became completely non-existent after they scored those initial 21 points. And with the Cowboys, especially with their defense being as bad as it's been this season, that's very concerning for the Eagles. We'll talk about that a little bit later. As for the Chiefs beat the Indianapolis Colts 20-23. This was an incredible game, and it was a must-win for Kansas City. If the Chiefs lost this game, their playoff hopes were as good as gone, pretty much. They needed to win this game, and they had the odds against them against a very good Colts team, right? Like the Colts are no slouch this year. They may have lost a couple games going down the stretch, but they're still a phenomenal team. And a lot of this came through the concerted efforts of Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt had 30 carries for 104 yards and a touchdown. So 3.5 yards per carry isn't great, but 30 carries is huge, and he really kept them in this game. Mahomes was 29 of 46 for 352 yards. He threw an interception, 77.4 passer rating, no touchdowns. That passer rating is very deceptive because Mahomes made clutch play after clutch play with his man, Rashee Rice, who had 8 receptions for 141 yards. I mean, there were so many times where the Chiefs had their backs against the wall, 3rd and long in their own territory, and Mahomes threw a strike to whether it was Xavier Worthy, whether it was Rashee Rice. They literally kept their season alive on 3rd and longs multiple times. And this game just showed me that the Chiefs may only be 6-5, but they are just as dangerous as they've always been. You look at last year, how they won a lot of one-score games, and everyone was like, oh, the Chiefs suck. They're not a good team. This is the reverse. The Chiefs have lost a lot of close games, but I think they're a better team this year than they were last year. Their offense has gotten in sync now. It's working a lot better, and the Chiefs are just dangerous. If they get into the playoffs, even at the 7th seed, every team in the AFC needs to be careful because the Chiefs can beat any team in this league, regardless of what their record says. You can't count out Mahomes. You can't count out Andy Reid. They will find ways to win in the most clutch moments possible. Mahomes showed how clutch he was in that game, and it was just insane to watch. I'm going with the Chiefs. They're going to win this game. They're going to improve to 7-5. And now you begin to wonder, are the Chiefs going to get themselves into the playoffs after a bit of a rocky regular season? We'll wait and see, but it's starting to look that way. I'm going with the Chiefs. Next up, this is our Thursday night game. What a game this is going to be. We have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens. The reason why I say this is going to be a crazy game is apparently Joe Burrow is supposed to return in this game. I can't remember the last time someone recovered from a turf toe injury so quickly. Maybe they're rushing him back. Maybe he'll re-injure it. Who knows? I don't want to put that bad mojo in there, but it would be crazy if that happened. But, I mean, that'd be a great game for the Bengals. They lost to the Patriots 26-20. They played all right. It's just, they lost to the better team. As for the Ravens, they are 6-5. They've won 5 straight, and the Ravens are back in the NFC North position. They are back leading the NFC North. What the Ravens have done this year, I think, is incredible. It's been a season of 2 halves. They got incredibly injured. Lamar was injured. They were out for multiple games. They looked lifeless. They was some of the worst I've ever seen them play in my career as a football fan. After the bye, Tyler Huntley came in and did what a backup quarterback does, win a game in a pinch. Lamar came back. He hasn't played great, Lamar, but the team is starting to gel, and they look like the old Ravens team that they've been in the past. And now they're 6-5, and it's kind of now business as usual for the Ravens now. Lamar Jackson was 13 of 23 for 153 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, a 76.9 passer rating. Derrick Henry had 21 carries for 64 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Derrick Henry has had an up and down season. He has 800 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. He's done well. He just hasn't had a lot of the breakaway runs that he's had before. He's 31. Maybe we're starting to see a little decline on his end, but if a decline is being on pace for 1,200 rushing yards, 4.7 yards a carry, and more than 10 rushing touchdowns, if that's a decline, then, you're a Hall of Fame running back. You know what I mean? But I do think the Ravens are going to win this game. It's going to be a divisional round matchup. Joe Burrow's coming back, so there's going to be a lot of excitement in this game. But what the Ravens have been able to do to reignite their season is very, very impressive, and it's a testament to the culture that the Ravens have. This is what good teams do. They come back and they handle adversity and they get back in the swing of things. And the Ravens have won 5 straight. They're back in first place. They're back. To put it simply, these are the Ravens we're used to seeing, and they're back. I see them beating the Bengals. Next up, we have the Chicago Bears at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Bears came off of a very impressive victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers, 31-28. Caleb Williams was 19 of 35 for 239 yards, 3 touchdowns, a 104.3 passer rating. So while that was an impressive game, I would say this is probably the most impressive victory I've seen from the Chicago Bears. They're now 8-3. I know I've talked about how they've been like a fraudulent team, a fraudulent 7-3, and that's just with how some of their wins have gone. For example, if Jaden Daniels doesn't fumble that third down handoff in our game against them, 3rd and 1, and we get a first down, we win that game. Like, clear as day, we win. We kneel it out, we kick a field goal, and we win the game, right? If Jackson Dart doesn't go out in that game against the Bengals, I think the Giants win that game. As soon as Jackson Dart went out, the Bears completely took advantage and they won. Those are 2 games that I think the Bears didn't deserve the win, but they managed to win, right? The ball bounced in their favor, and I think that's why they're the Commanders of this year. I'll be the first to say the Commanders got extremely lucky last year. Were they a good team? Yes. But they got lucky, which allowed them to get those extra couple wins and get those extra couple playoff wins. They reached their ceiling, to put it simply. The Bears are playing very similar football. They're reaching their ceiling of what they can as a team. Are they a good team? Yes, I would say they are. But if you take those other 2 losses away, there's 2 wins against the Commanders and the Giants. They're 6-5. And I think that's more accurately the record of the Bears. They're more of like a 6-5 team versus an 8-3 team. As for the Eagles, they had a very bad loss against the Dallas Cowboys. There's a lot of controversy about how their offense isn't working. A.J. Brown is unhappy. Well, it did not look good against the Cowboys. They scored 21 points in the first half, 14 of it in the first quarter, and they did nothing after that. They scored 0 points. The Cowboys scored 17 unanswered, and they managed to win the game. Now, I know it's a divisional round matchup, and that means that it's a little more likely for there to be an upset, like I always say. But, I mean, being up 21-0 and losing is inexcusable. And this is what I keep saying about the Eagles. They look way more beatable than they were last year, and I don't think that they're going to be Super Bowl threats this year. Saying that, I am still going to go with the Eagles, though. I think that this is going to be kind of an exposure game for the Bears. I think that we're going to see that they're not really as good as we all think they are. And, they're going to lose to a superior team. And, it is what it is. I'm going with the Eagles. I think they're going to win. Next up, we have the San Francisco 49ers at the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to be a bit quick with this one. The 49ers are going to win. They beat the Panthers pretty convincingly despite 3 interceptions from Brock Purdy. He was kind of just slinging it, and the Panthers made some good plays. I don't know how bad. They weren't, bad interceptions, but, they still won 20-9. Brock Purdy was 23 of 32, 193 yards, a touchdown, 3 interceptions, and a 58.5 passer rating. Christian McCaffrey did what he does best, got 24 carries off 89 yards and a touchdown, adding 53 receiving yards on top of that. Over 100 scrimmage yards from him. Great showing there. As for the Browns had a good showing against the Raiders. They won 24-10, which just kind of shows how bad the Raiders really are, which is really like, pathetic of them. Shedeur Sanders had his first game. He was 11 of 20, 209 yards, a touchdown and interception, and an 87.3 passer rating. Not great. Better than Dylan Gabriel, though, and this is what I was saying for the longest time. Put in Shedeur Sanders and just see what he can do. And what I saw from Shedeur Sanders is a guy that can play quarterback in the NFL. So I think if the Browns were smart, they would, give him more starts and see what they can get out of him. Myles Garrett had 3 sacks in this game. He already, at 11 games in, because the Browns had a bye, he has 18 sacks. He's on pace to break the single-season sacking record by a mile. I did the math. He's on pace for 27 sacks. 27 sacks. That is going to beat the single-season record by 5.5 sacks. Like, that is incredible. That's one of those things that, like, if Matt Stafford wasn't having as big of an MVP caliber season as he is now, and the Browns were doing better, like, Myles Garrett could win MVP. If he had 27 sacks, the Browns were above 500, and Matt Stafford wasn't playing out of his mind, like, you could realistically give Myles Garrett the MVP. And that's just insane to me. But the 49ers are going to win. The Browns aren't going anywhere. The 49ers need this win to stay in the playoffs. I'm going with the 49ers. Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Tennessee Titans. The Jaguars are coming off a win against the Cardinals, 27-24. They continue to win these close games against mediocre teams, which tells me that I still don't really see them as a credible threat. Trevor Lawrence was 18 of 30 for 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and 81.4 passer rating. Despite the Jaguars' success, Trevor Lawrence still hasn't looked great. He still hasn't been the guy yet. He still hasn't had a really solid game yet. I think that's going to catch up to him in the postseason. The Jaguars are going to win this game, though. The Titans are not going to upset them. They're still way too bad of a team to cause an upset, despite it being a divisional round matchup. Cam Ward had a good game. He kind of showed up, and they were a touchdown away from beating the Seahawks, but a lot of it was in garbage time. So I wouldn't really worry about that. I'm going with Jacksonville. Next up, we have the Houston Texans at the Indianapolis Colts. Another divisional round matchup where both teams are in opposite directions. The Texans, with their phenomenal defense, did a great job beating the Buffalo Bills 23-19. Davis Mills got the start. He was 16 of 30 for 153 yards and 2 touchdowns and 90 passer rating. I always liked Davis Mills. I remember when he played in like 2022 when the Texans were really struggling and their roster was really bad. I remember looking at him being like, Davis Mills is not a lost cause quarterback. He's in a bad situation, but I see talent in him. We're starting to see that now with a better supporting cast and a better team around him. He's playing very well. Is he going to take the job away from C.J. Stroud? Heck no. I think C.J. Stroud has to lay a couple more eggs for them to consider going with Davis Mills, but it was a statement victory, a game they needed to win to stay in the playoff picture against the Buffalo Bills. We'll see where they stack up as we go on because all 3 teams, Chiefs, Ravens, and Texans, all won. So we'll see where they stand in the division. But as it stands right now, the Texans are doing everything right to get into the playoffs. As for the Colts, they lost a close game to the Chiefs. They were in control for the majority of the game, but in the fourth quarter, they gave Mahomes too many chances. So I'm looking at this here. These are the drives for the fourth quarter. There was a fumble by the Chiefs. The Colts went 3 and out. The Chiefs had an 11-play drive that resulted in a touchdown. Colts 3 and out. Chiefs had a 3 and out. Then the Colts had a 3 and out. Then the Chiefs ran down the field, kicked a field goal that made it 20-20 overtime. If anything lost the Colts that game, it was that their offense stalled in the fourth quarter. 3 straight 3 and outs like that, when all you need is a couple first downs to hold on to the ball to keep the Chiefs from scoring. If you're up 20-9 in the fourth quarter, you got to put the game away. And 3 and outs is a very demoralizing way to lose. And because of that, it makes this prediction a bit more difficult because, this is a momentum-sucking game for the Colts. The Texans, a momentum-gaining win. So I am going to go with the upset here. I think the Colts are starting to skid a little bit. I'm going to go with the Houston Texans. I'm actually going for the upset at home. The Texans have a lot to play for. They know that they need to win this game to stay in the playoff picture. I'm going with the Texans. Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints at the Miami Dolphins. This is a tank bowl. I mean, that doesn't matter. The Dolphins have won a couple games recently, which is only going to hurt their draft stock. They're not going to make the playoffs. That's pretty much all there is to say about that. Like they're just messing up their draft stock. It's impressive they've still been productive without Tyreek Hill, but I don't think it really matters that much. I think the Dolphins are going to win. They're going to beat the Saints. They're going to finish the season maybe like 7-10 maybe. It's going to look a lot better than how they actually were this season because they won a lot of games near the end of the season. Garbage time victories, as they say. And all it's going to do is hurt their draft stock. So in the end of the day, they're going to be the real losers. But I'm going with the Dolphins. To this game, they're going to win. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons at the New York Jets. The Falcons have been a very disappointing team this year. They came in with expectations. Michael Penix, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, all this talent to get to the playoffs. And it's been a real dud of a season for them. And it hasn't been because of injuries. I know Michael Penix is now out, but Kirk Cousins is a very, very capable starter. They beat the Saints. Kirk Cousins was 16 of 23, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, a 107 passer rating. It makes me think how they would have done if he did start, because it looks like Michael Penix may not be the guy. I think he is damaged goods with all the injuries he had early in his career, and I think it's starting to show now as he's undergoing yet another knee surgery. They may have just backed the wrong horse. But, I mean, they still have Kirk Cousins. They could still play him. Kirk Cousins will be 38 going into next year, and it's not unheard of for a 38-year-old quarterback to still play well. You know, just look at what Matt Stafford's doing. I know Kirk Cousins isn't Matthew Stafford, but Kirk Cousins can put together a respectable year at 38, I think. But it's been a disappointing year for the Falcons. I do think they're going to win, though, because the Jets are just that bad, and they're that downtrodden, and they're that bad. You know, they benched Justin Fields. Tyrod Taylor got the start and played like a backup. He played well, but just couldn't elevate the team, you know. So I'm going with the Falcons. They're going to win, but what a disappointing season it's been for them. Next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I kind of already went over the Cardinals. They're one of the more irrelevant teams in the NFL right now, but with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they are 6-5. They lost yet another game, and the Buccaneers are one of these teams that has really gone on a skid. Early on in the season, I was saying the Buccaneers were a top 5 team in the league. Yes, they've been ravaged by injuries, and they've had a really, really tough schedule the last couple weeks. They went against some really, really good teams, and that's kind of beaten them down a little bit. But this game against the Rams that they faced Monday night was their magnum opus in terms of that. They were downright beaten up. Like, this was a slaughter. And a lot of it came because the Rams are just firing on all cylinders. It wasn't because the Buccaneers are that bad. I think it's that the Rams are that good and they're capitalizing on a weakened Buccaneers team. Baker Mayfield left the game with an injury. They said that he hurt his AC joint on his non-throwing shoulder. So that's going to be difficult if he misses time. Like, getting injured at this point in the season is just very, very concerning for Tampa. Their biggest competition now is the Carolina Panthers, who are 6-6. You know, like I said, the Panthers are 6-6. The Buccaneers are 6-5. This is going to be a good get-right game for them. I do think Tampa Bay is going to win. I think that if Baker misses a lot of time, if he comes back for the playoffs, they may have a chance, but they're going to be limping into the playoffs right now. And they face some tough competition, and going against an easy team like the Cardinals, I think is going to help them a lot, and I think they're going to win. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Rams at the Carolina Panthers. We'll go over the Panthers first. They lost to the 49ers 20-9. If you're only getting 9 points off of 3 interceptions by Brock Purdy, your team just isn't that good. I think the Panthers are a very inconsistent team. Week to week, they'll have a good game, then they'll have a bad game. And it's games like this that just remind me that at the end of the day, they may be 6-6. They may be this close to a playoff spot, but they're just not that good. They're not that good. And they're going to get crushed by the Rams. The Rams are going to win. Now, just a little comment about the Rams. I think that the Rams are the general consensus best team in the league. I said it once, I'll say it again. If it wasn't for that blocked field goal, the Rams would be 10-1. They would only have 1 loss to their record. Matt Stafford was 25 of 35, 273 yards, 3 touchdowns, 122.7 passer rating. I mean, what hasn't been said that has been said? Matt Stafford has 30 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He's the MVP frontrunner. Barring something catastrophic, Matt Stafford's going to win MVP. which I think is awesome. Well deserved by that guy. A guy who's been overlooked his entire career for playing on the Lions, a bad team. Everyone always knew he was good. Everyone always knew he had talent, but he was held down by our Lions team that was just putrid. He goes to the Rams, immediately wins the Super Bowl, throws 41 touchdowns, defeats Brady in the divisional round, and puts on a clinic in the Super Bowl, shows everyone what he's capable of. And he's had a couple up and down seasons with the Rams. Last year was pretty good, not from a stats standpoint, but the fact that he led them to winning a playoff game this close to being the Super Bowl champions. When Matt Stafford is on, you can put him up against some of the most elite quarterbacks that have ever played the game. His arm talent is elite. It's some of the best arm talent I've ever seen. When he's on and everything goes right, I mean, you can put him up there with some of the best quarterbacks to have ever played the game. And that's what we're seeing now. Like, if he ends up having 45 touchdowns and 3 interceptions and wins the MVP, I always knew he had this in him, and it's really cool to see it happen at the age of 37. And what's even more exciting is he's showing no signs of slowing down. He could play till he's 40. He could play 2 or 3 more years. It's awesome. It's awesome to see a guy rewrite his legacy and make a last-minute push in his late 30s for the Hall of Fame. It's really awesome. I'm going with the Rams. They are the de facto best team in the league right now, and I think it's the general consensus that they are the Super Bowl favorite. We'll wait and see what happens. Anything can happen in the playoffs. It could get upset, but as it stands right now, they're the best team in the league, and I'm going with the Rams. They're going to slaughter the Panthers. So next up, we have the Minnesota Vikings at the Seattle Seahawks. Just a quick thing about the Seahawks game. They won 30-24. That is a bit deceptive because the Titans scored a lot of points in garbage time, so the Seahawks were in control of that game the entire time. Sam Darnold, 16-26, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, 118.1 passer rating. Jackson Smith-Njigba, 8 receptions, 167 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, Jackson Smith-Njigba is having an incredible season. He is the best wide receiver in the NFL right now. He's having the best season. Really impressive stuff by the Seattle Seahawks. And they are proving to be a strong, solid, consistent team that I think could do a lot of damage in the postseason. As for the Vikings, I bet the Vikings wish that they didn't get rid of Sam Darnold. They had Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones on their roster, and they got rid of them both for J.J. McCarthy, who was 12 of 19 for 87 yards, 2 interceptions, a 34.2 passer rating. That is bad. That is really bad. That's like Zach Wilson bad. And this is what I think is what I'm really concerned about with the Vikings is he was injured all of last year. He had a high ankle sprain, was out for a lot, and now he's finally playing. And some guys, you see them play, and they just don't have it, and they suck. That's kind of what we saw with Zach Wilson. Like, it became pretty clear that, okay, this guy doesn't have it. He's not an NFL caliber quarterback. And it's looking like that with J.J. McCarthy. And I understand where the Vikings were coming from with their decision. They drafted him high. He was going to be Kirk Cousins' successor. He was going to be the young guy they were going to invest in. Sam Darnold was a 1-year rental. He was a backup that came in with J.J. McCarthy being injured. Sam Darnold unexpectedly had a great season, so then the question arose, do you stick with the hot guy in Sam Darnold, or do you go with this guy that you drafted and invested all this capital in? I understand why they made the decision that they made, but it's looking pretty clear they made the wrong choice. You know, it looks clear as day that they made the wrong choice with how Sam Darnold and even Daniel Jones is doing. And it's a shame because the Vikings have a lot going for them as a team. Their defense is good. They have good skill position players. All they need is what they're missing, and it's a quarterback. You know, like, they're 4-7 right now. I think they are 6-5 if Kirk Cousins is still on the roster. I don't think they're a great team, but I think they're a lot better than they were, you know? And it's just been an absolute disaster for the Vikings in this J.J. McCarthy experiment. And the question is, where do you go from here? I think you have him play out the whole season to see if he gets any better. If he's still playing as bad as he's playing, you got to get rid of him and you got to move on. He's just not it. He's not the guy. He can't play. It's like if I was out there, you know, and I was playing and I was throwing 2 interceptions and 87 yards, you know, okay, like we invested in this guy. He sucks. He's not going to get any better. He doesn't have it. We need to go in a different direction. You know, it's like the Anthony Richardson thing where it's like the Colts were trying him so hard because of all the physical talents, but he was showing us time and time again that he wasn't good enough to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. It's looking like that with J.J. McCarthy. The Seahawks are going to win this game. But the storyline with the Vikings and JJ McCarthy is very interesting, and it'll be interesting to see if he finds himself without a roster next year. Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills at the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is going to be a very good game as well. I'm going to try and watch this in the 4 p.m. slate because these are two teams in desperate need of a win. The Steelers are 6-5. The Bills are 7-5. The Bills lost to the Texans, which was a good team, but my concern with the Bills is I think it's starting to turn more and more like the Josh Allen show, where this team would be below 500 if Josh Allen didn't pull the team up by the scruff of the neck and be like, I'm going to win this game for us. In terms of being the most valuable player, I would say that it's slowly turning into Josh Allen in terms of how much the team needs him to succeed. James Cook still did very well. He was 17 carries for 116 yards and a touchdown. So he had a very good game as well. So it's not all Josh Allen, but the more I watch these games, the more I think what would the Bills be without Josh Allen? You look at some teams that are like what would the Chiefs be without Mahomes? At least the Chiefs have a really good defense and their skill position players are good and stuff like that. If the Bills didn't have Josh Allen, they go from being 7-5 to 5-7, in my opinion. So that's kind of how valuable Josh Allen is to the team. As for the Steelers, they lost to the Bears 28-31. It was a tough-fought game. It's hard when your starting quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, is not there. So Mason Rudolph got the start, and he didn't do too hot. They're now 6-5, and it seems like it's the same script that we've always seen with the Steelers. Start the season well, start the season leading the division, start to slip at the end of the year, squeak in with a wild card spot, get blown out in the wild card. They are following the same script that they have followed for the last 6 years. Something needs to change. I thought having Aaron Rodgers there would make a difference, but it hasn't. So what are they to do? They got to figure out something because they're in the worst kind of mediocrity hell. And you really see it as though, because every season has been the same. If you look at it, start the season well, go on a losing streak, fizzle out at the end of the season, squeak into the wild card, and get blown out. That's what it's been every year for the last 5-6 years for the Steelers. So it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of bounce back and win this game, which I think is a must-win because if they lose this, I think they're already out of the playoff picture. But if they lose this one, then they're going to be even further out of the playoff picture. I'm going with the Bills, though. I think they're going to win. Next up, we have the Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers have been a very quiet playoff team right now as of late. They came off of a bye, and after the bye, they lost 35-6 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So this is going to be a really good get-right game for them to get some momentum back because they've been in the wild card for most of the time the playoff picture has been in, and a lot of people kind of just forgotten about them. So I don't know. We will wait and see. I think that the Raiders are a bottom 3 team in the league, though, considering how they lost to the Browns. So I think the Chargers are going to win, and it's not going to be much of a resistance. It's going to be a good get-right game for them, and they are going to further their chances of making the wild card. So I'm going with the Chargers. Next up, Sunday Night Football, we have the Denver Broncos at the Washington Commanders. I'm going to be quick with this one because Jaden Daniels isn't playing. Terry McLaurin's practicing. It's a lost year. It's at home. We're coming off of a bye, but we're not going to win. The Broncos are going to win. The Broncos beat the Chiefs by the skins of their teeth. They're also coming off of a bye. My main concern with the Broncos is finishing drives. They're 9-2, but honestly, they have not looked impressive in a lot of their victories. Against the Chiefs, they only reached the end zone once and kicked 5 field goals. They are primed for a first-round exit in the playoffs with that kind of performances, and I think it's because of Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix is a below-average starting quarterback. He's still young, so he has a chance to progress, but I think as it is right now, I think that he is a below-average quarterback, and it kind of shows when we watch him play. But saying that, I'm going with the Broncos. They're going to win. I hope I see some progress with the Commanders in terms of their defense and some of their young players, and I hope that they look better, but they shouldn't win because we're going to have a new defensive coordinator next year. Jaden Daniels is going to be healthy. Hopefully the whole team is going to be healthy, and we can kind of pick up where we left off in 2024, come back and maybe have a better season next year. We'll wait and see, but I'm going with the Denver Broncos. I think they're going to win. So last but not least, we have the Monday night game, the New York Giants at the New England Patriots. I'm gonna be short with this one. The Patriots are gonna win. Jameis Winston played for the Giants and had probably the greatest play in the NFL this season, where he caught a pass, made a defender miss, and ran into the end zone. There's one thing you can say about Jameis Winston: he is an entertaining guy to watch. If he didn't throw as many interceptions as he did, he would be a starter in this league because he riles up his team. He's a great locker room guy. He needs to be on a roster at all times because when Jameis Winston plays, it is must-see TV. They did well against the Giants to make it competitive, but it just wasn't meant to be. And the Patriots had a good showing against the Bengals, despite a pick six by Drake May. Cracks starting to form with him a little bit, but I still think he's a very good quarterback, and I still think he's going to do very well. It's just kind of a matter of the postseason with the Patriots now to see how they stack up. So I'm going with the Patriots on that one. So there go the predictions for Week 13. We're not done yet, though, folks. We're going to go over the playoff picture. So we're going to start off with the NFC. So the NFC is starting to take shape here, and as you can see, the Rams are the number one seed. I think that makes the most sense. They are the best team in the NFL right now, followed by the Eagles at 2, Bears at 3, and Buccaneers at 4. Like I was saying, the Buccaneers are on a really, really tough skid right now. And it's just because of who they've played and injuries, and it'll be interesting to see if they can right that ship this week. In the wild card, the Seahawks are the number 5 seed at 8-3. The Packers are the number 6 seed at 7-3-1, and the 49ers are the 7th seed at 8-4. So you can see how competitive the NFC is compared to the AFC, where you'll see it, where the AFC, all the wild card teams are 7-win teams. In the NFC, 2 of them are 8-win teams. In the hunt right now for the NFC, it's really just the Lions and the Panthers. The Cowboys are 5-5-1, but that's not going to get them anywhere in the wild card at this rate. So right now, it's the Lions at 7-4. If they beat the Packers, they're back into the playoff picture. If the 49ers lose, well, the Lions just need to win. If the Lions win, they're in the playoff picture. If the Panthers win and the Buccaneers lose, the Panthers go into that number 4th seed, which I think is pretty ridiculous considering they are not a very good team. So, I mean, the NFC is very competitive with teams like the 49ers, Packers, and Seahawks, Eagles. These are all very good teams. The Bears punching above their weight, still playing very well, and then the Rams at the very top. Everything's going right for the Rams, and they are the best team in the league right now. So, going to the AFC, we have a lot more moving parts here. The Patriots are the number 1 seed at 10-2. So they still haven't had their bye yet, which is why Drake May leads the league in passing yards, but they're 10-2. They're doing very well. The Broncos are number 2 at 9-2. Then at the number 3 seed, we have the Colts at 8-3, which is weird because the number 1, 2, and 3 seeds right now for the AFC have not looked great. Like, I think the Seahawks could beat any one of those 3 teams. Same goes for the Eagles, but that's neither here nor there. At number 4, the Ravens have finally made their way at the top of the NFC North. As I said, they're 6-5. A win against the Bengals makes them 7-5 and really establishes them back on their perch at the number 1 spot in the NFC North. At the number 5 seed, we have the LA Chargers. They've been a perennial wild card team this entire time. The number 6 seed, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars at 7-4. They've been another team that's kind of punched above their weight despite lackluster quarterback play. And then the Buffalo Bills at 7-4 are the number 7 seeds. So they are starting to fade a little bit here, and that's why they desperately need this win coming up, because they run the risk of getting dropped. Because who is on the bend? We have 3 6-5 teams. We have the Texans, Steelers, and Chiefs all at 6-5. Looking at it, I think Houston is on the rise. I think Pittsburgh is on the fall, and I think the Chiefs are on the rise. I think the Chiefs beating the Colts proved to me that the Chiefs are still one of the best teams in the league despite their record and can beat anyone in this league. So if the Chargers, Jaguars, or Bills, if any one of those 3 teams lose and the Chiefs, Texans, or Steelers win, then you have 7-5, and we can see some action moving. So for the Bills, Jaguars, and Chargers, these are must-win games for them because they run the risk of getting kicked out of the playoff picture by those 3 teams in the hunt. That's what you want to see in the playoff picture. You want to see teams fighting for it, so we're definitely going to get that. What a great Thanksgiving it's going to be with a lot of games that have a lot of implications and meaning. I can't wait for it. I hope everyone has a fantastic Thanksgiving. I hope everyone eats well. I hope everyone spends time with family. I've been Lampini, and I'll see you guys next week for week 14.